Okay, so this training is recorded. So you will receive the replay. Proformation is a training organization. We offer training in languages, Microsoft Office, and soft skills via Teams. So please contact us if you have any needs. We have other express training coming next year and on December. For example, business meetings scheduled on December, Power Apps, Excel as well. So do not hesitate to subscribe, and we will be glad to welcome you. Okay, Stephen.
Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is share my screen so that we can see the lesson. So can everybody see? Can you see the screen? Raphael, can you see the screen?
Yes,
okay,
I do.
Good. Okay, well, good morning. My name's Stephen Dinham, and I'm teaching at Proformation. And the first thing we're going to look at is a method of verifying a candidate's English level during an interview. The interview can be done in English completely, or you can have one part of the interview testing the English and the other part done in the language of the country. So you could finish the interview off in French. This is a part interview test to test someone's ability to speak English. So test a candidate's English level during an interview. Now, here, the interviewer level is C1. So you must have the capability to be able to verify the level of English speaker during the interview. So you must have at least level C1 to do the interview. Introduction. Part of a company's HR human resources function is to recruit new staff when required. If your company is involved with Anglophone customers or business partners, then it's important that you select the right people with the right skills. So how do you select the right people? Well, this depends entirely on you, who you are looking for. It is you, the recruiter, who will need to decide on the required level. For example, one of the necessities for applying for French citizenship today in France is that you are able to communicate in French at level B1 or above. So there are tests organized by the French government to assess an applicant's level. Level B1 has been deemed by the French government to be a satisfactory level for someone to live and work in the country. So your selection of a candidate will really depend on the level of English you require for the job you intend them to do. For example, if the vacancy requires a level of English no greater than B1, then a candidate selection procedure will be created at this level of English. To save time and money, an initial pre-interview selection test can be carried out to verify a candidate's English level before you arrive at the interview process. Once this initial selection process is completed and the best candidates have been chosen, the oral interview process can then begin. Now, depending on the type of role you are recruiting for, your interview will assess the candidate's comprehension and spoken English. You will be assessing English for specific purposes, also known as ESP. The job categories could be as follows: an engineer, a salesperson, IT, information technology, technician, a nurse, a chef in a restaurant, customer services, after sales, etc. We are now going to look at an example lesson for assessing the level of English required for an after-sales person to work for an American business here in France that supplies robot vacuum cleaners. The requirements for the job are as follows. The candidate must have at least 2 years after sales experience and be able to speak English at level B2, upper intermediate. The candidate must be able to answer the phone and deal with any customer queries and to maintain customer satisfaction. Assessing the English level. This part of the job interview and can be done at the beginning before continuing the rest of the interview in French if required. So, the most popular method is to begin the interview with an icebreaker or warm-up. Ask the candidate to describe themselves. In this process, the candidate should be able to explain who they are, how old they are, their date of birth, and what their interests are. Ask them what they like to do at the weekend and what hobbies do they have. The candidate should be able to use adjectives like motivated, friendly, reliable, kind, easygoing, helpful, polite, and use present progressive verbs, example, playing, doing, working, practicing, reading, running, or listening to. For a level B2 speaker, this should not be a difficult task, and I would be looking for speaking fluency with the vocabulary range of B2 speaker, good and clear pronunciation. Once the warm-up is completed, then some more challenging questions can be asked. In this test, I will ask the candidate to describe what they see in this image. Now, the picture we have here is of a guy pointing at some stars. The stars behind them represent a review of a service or a product. The candidate should be able to describe what they can see using simple present progressive tenses. Also, the use of the male third-person pronoun is important. Once the description exercise is complete, then move on to the following questions. What do these stars represent? To businesses that have their companies on the internet, these stars represent how your business is doing within the customer world. If these stars are very low, it doesn't reflect very well for a business. So ideally, most businesses that are customer facing will want to get at least 4 or 5 stars. So, what do these stars represent? Here, I will expect the candidate to explain the stars represent a customer rating of satisfaction about a service or product. Words important to hear are satisfaction, dissatisfaction, rating, reviews, happy, unhappy, not happy. Note, if the candidate doesn't understand the question or is unable to answer, then you should try to rephrase it, but don't translate it. Ask the question again in a different way. But these type of adjectives or words that we're going to listen for are important to understand that your candidate can converse in English with the customer. As it is a customer-facing role, it is important for you that your candidate is capable of answering the questions and giving the service that the customer will prefer and will require. I will then ask the candidate what impact this type of rating could have on a company. The candidate will study this image again and decide on what he or she thinks the type of impact this type of rating would have for their business. This picture shows 1.5 or 1.5 stars out of 5. So the rating for this company, if this is over a large number of reviews, is very poor. And just by looking at the image, I would be dissuaded from buying anything or using the services of this company. So if we go back to the question, I will then ask the candidate what impact this type of rating would or could have on a company. The candidate should be able to explain that this is damaging to a business. Words important to listen for are bad for sales, poor reputation, loss of customers, reduced profits, lack of trust, untrustworthy, unreliable product, poor service. These words alone are very damaging to a business, and if this picture here represents these words, then your business will be in trouble. Okay, so the next one is number 3. The next question to be asked is, would it be an advantage or disadvantage for a company to adopt this type of customer rating system on their website? Now, the answer should be an advantage, and then an additional question can be asked or posed. In what way is this an advantage to a company? The expected answer should be promotes a good image, customer faith, good product, good service, reliable product, service performance. These are the good words that we like to hear from a customer when they are speaking about our company. So if we go back to the picture here, this rating here doesn't give me any of those. All I see is poor performance. So if your candidate is able to reply using some of these words, then we understand that they have the level required. The next question to be asked is, would it be an advantage or disadvantage? We've done that one, so I go back over number 4. Sorry about that. So the last question in this section, as before we move on, as the candidate. So ask the candidate what type of star rating they would expect to see and why. Now, answers I would listen for are 4 to 5 star rating. So the last question in this section, ask the candidate what type of star rating they would expect to see and why. So the candidate should expect to say 4 to 5 star rating. If you're running a business, you really would like to be 5, but between 4 and 5 is better than 1 or 2. So the candidate should be able to explain this. Customer satisfaction, that's what we're looking for. Good reputation, reputable, trustworthy, reliable. This is how we want to be reflected in the business world amongst the customers. Excuse me. Now will be a good time, as your candidate is on a roll and is well warmed up to ask what is important to them about a product when they buy it. For example, a robot vacuum cleaner. The candidate should be able to answer this question. Listen for the following words: reliable, efficient, quiet, easy to use, time saver, good price, affordable, smart, connected, quality, does the job, fit for purpose. Once this section is completed, move on to the next. This next part of the interview will involve an oral comprehension test. The interviewer should play an audio that represents a phone call from a customer in Sweden with a problem concerning their vacuum cleaner. They have been told that the shop they bought it from cannot help and that they should call the manufacturer. Candidate is told that they can take notes during the listening. This is an example of the transcript. So after sales service, This is a phone call between a Swedish customer and the after-sales service. So, hello, VacuLove. That's the name of the company, VacuLove. So, hello, VacuLove. How may I help you? Customer, hello, it's Mr. Johansson. I'm phoning about my vacuum. It's not working. After-sales service. Okay, what appears to be the problem? Customer, the vacuum will not start. After-sales service. Is the battery charged? Is the green light on? The customer, yes. After-sales service. Is the dust collector empty and installed correctly? Customer, yes. After-sales service. Okay, I'll have to ask you the age of the vacuum. How old is it? It's 4 years old. After-sales service. Oh, it's out of the guarantee. Do you want us to send a repair engineer, or would you like to send the vacuum to us? Customer, I prefer that I send it to you. After-sales service. Okay, so what is your full name and address, telephone number, and the mark of the vacuum? Now here, this is where the candidate is listening to the audio and is going now to note how the gentleman, Mr. Eric Johansson, spells his name, gives his address, gives his telephone number, the mark of the vacuum, and its serial number. So this is important that this information is taken correctly. If we have a candidate that doesn't understand English very well, they're not going to be able to note this correctly. And this could be a problem for your company. So, customer, my name is Eric Johansson. Customer spells his name. Eric, E-R-I-K. Johansson, J-O-H-A-N-S-S-O-N. I live at 108 Ektorp, Stockholm. So the customer spells the street. 108 Ektorp, E-K-T-O-R-P, Stockholm. My telephone is 004608594578. The mark of the vacuum is the Hoogy, H-O-O-G-Y. Serial number 286958745. So the candidate who has a paper and pen should have written or wrote down the details required to tell the interviewer when they are asked the questions. After-sales service. Thank you very much, sir. I have noted your details. You will find our repair center address on our website. Please make sure that when you return the vacuum that it is safely packaged. Is there anything else I can help you with, sir? Customer, no, all is good for me. Thank you and goodbye. Once the audio has stopped, the comprehension questions can be asked. Again, I will be listening for speaking fluency within the vocabulary range of B2 speaker. Good and clear pronunciation. Number 1. Why did the customer call the company? During the candidate's answer, I would expect to hear his vacuum is not working, broken down, does not work. Number 2. How old is the vacuum cleaner and is it still in the guarantee? I would expect to hear from the candidate that it's 4 years old and that the vacuum is out of the guarantee. Number 3, what options does the after-sales service offer the customer? The candidate should be able to explain a repair engineer visit or sending the vacuum to the company for repair. So the candidate should be able to give in English 2 types of alternative or 2 types of method to help the customer with the breakdown of his robot vacuum cleaner. So a repair engineer visit to his home or sending the vacuum to the company for repair. Number 4, the interviewer can now verify comprehension by asking for customer details. The candidate should be able to say the details clearly and correctly. These are the details that we noted down when the customer spelt his name, gave his telephone number, the mark of the vacuum, and the serial number. I would expect the candidate to be able to relay the same information to me correctly written down. Number 5. This section can be completed by asking the candidate what type of service did the customer receive and the mood of the telephone conversation between client and customer. I would expect to hear that the customer received a good service, was happy, was pleased, professional service, polite, calm, respectful, satisfied. These are the type of the words that are within the B2 English speaking range, the vocabulary that is available to someone who is upper intermediate, and they should be able to use at least one or two of these words. These are the words I'm going to listen for. This, as I explained, is part of an interview to test the level of your English speaking candidate or your French speaking candidate who is going to be able to speak as a second language English. As I said, the rest of the interview can then be done in French. So, okay, so there we are. Raphael, I've finished. I'll go back to stop sharing there. So I hope you find that interesting. There are different types of interviews that are available. They can be designed to suit your purposes, depending on the role or the person you are trying to recruit. And these are to test someone's English, so they can be done within the engineering environment. They can be done within a salesperson's environment. So there are various interviews that can be designed to help you with your selection test. Okay, Raphael, so I've finished.
Well, thank you, Stephen. Please ask your questions if you have any by chat. We have a few minutes with Stephen to answer. I also put in the chat the forms. You may reply, please. Any questions? I wonder if there is any vacuum cleaner specialist here. Well, it doesn't look like there is any question. Well, I suggest, yes, please do fill in the forms. It's Microsoft Forms. It will help us if you have any suggestions for us to improve this type of training. Okay, we'll send you the replay after should be a few days, I guess next week. All right. Well, we don't have any questions, Stephen, so
that's okay.
Have a nice day. Thanks again.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.